One of the key challenges for any child of any age during their school career is transition. It's a thorny issue, one that's been much researched, but still we know every year when children transfer from year 6 to year 7 that busy secondary environment is overwhelming for some children. I want to share with you a resource that's been recently prepared by Nurture UK and written by the eminent child psychologist Dr Tina Rae, a prolific author in the field. And it's a box of 60 cards that they've labelled the Transition Toolkit. And within this box are 60 cards, all beautifully laminated, so very good for wiping off at the end of an activity if a child has used them. But there's a range of issues in here that I think not only help the year 6 to year 7 transition, but also would help any child who is neurodiverse to cope with transition during their school career, even if it's just the annual change from one classroom to another. Things like making a pupil passport, or for those transferring to secondary, getting ready for secondary school. And what I like about the design of these is that they could be used by the child themselves. They could self-regulate what issue it is that they feel they need to address. And maybe they would come to a teacher or a teaching assistant and ask if this could be discussed with them. I think that's just a wonderful breakthrough. It's about co-construction of curriculum. Maybe we feed our children too much, and maybe we should allow them at times to have a menu from which they select their pathway forward. Just a straightforward information card that could be annually updated in its design and format by any child as they move through school. What sort of problems are they anticipating when they go to secondary school? What sort of problems are they having when they leave school? Again, we can style and accelerate this in whichever direction we need to. Saying goodbye is often hard, particularly for our children with special needs. They will have become very attached in a smaller classroom maybe, with more intensive staff ratios, some of whom have been delivering personal welfare to a child, to a student. And that saying goodbye process needs to be handled constructively. So these activities I would highly commend for all age groups. The resource, as I said, is produced by the charity Nurture UK. One of the other resources that I think will help in the transition process in schools is this new book, again by Tina Rae, this time with Jessica Smith, It's Okay Not to Be Okay. And in this book, they tackle some very thorny issues like eating disorders, but in child speak, in language that's accessible to the young person, deal with things like body image. And why this would be helpful, I think, to teachers is the conversation we need to have around these difficult issues, for which we've not always had a lot of experience within the profession. The language is already there and would enable any skilled teacher to spiral that conversation in whatever direction they feel is necessary for the child and young person. And particularly in this pandemic period, a resource like this that deals with anxiety, for example, is very useful, as is the whole process of transition. Let's remind ourselves that in the pandemic period in 2020, the year 6 to year 7 transition was in no way what any primary or secondary teacher would have wanted it to be. And a resource like this brought real meaning and depth to that process in a very challenging period of a child's school career.